Hello, it's me again, Jonathan MS Pierce, with the Atypical Philosopher channel. Really quick one. This one, again, I'm going to be talking about the Nativity, again, drawing on this book. Actually, I'm not going to draw so much on this book for this particularly short video, but the book is The Nativity, a Critical Examination, which sort of looks at all the issues with the Nativity accounts. Okay, so last video I talked about how Jesus and family went to Egypt for a couple of years to escape the persecution from Herod, who was murdering children in the Bethlehem area. I thought this is really interesting because I was sort of joking about how it could, it's a 2-year holiday. In my head, that's how I joke about it. Like, it's a 2-year holiday in Egypt, blah, blah, blah. But it's not. They took political asylum. These guys, if you believe the Gospel of Matthew, of course it doesn't exist in any other Gospel, least of all Luke, the other nativity account. We have Jesus and parents Mary and Joseph being chased away from a country because they feared that their child would be murdered by the despotic ruler. And this is classic political asylum. I wonder now whether white conservative Christians, for example, who are generally anti-immigration, generally conservative to the point that they advocate for closed borders. If you think of America, think about those coming from persecution in Honduras or wherever in the Southern American states, as in South America, the countries of South America, that those people who seek political asylum are quite often met with a staunch rejection from the political right wing in America. And they are being anti-legal political asylum. We've got to close the borders. We've got to build up a wall. Okay, build up a wall. But just remember the old adage of what would Jesus do? Because Jesus literally, or in this case, his parents, literally took political asylum for a couple of years to escape danger in Judea. And you sing the praises of that story. Heck, you've got nativity plays that celebrate the birth narrative. Okay, they might not explicitly talk about how Jesus spent some time in Egypt, and I think this is really interesting because I think this is almost a forgotten part of Jesus's life, supposed life. Of course, it doesn't exist in any other record at all other than Matthew, and it only exists in Matthew to fulfill the prophecy of Jesus coming out of Israel, so that he can be the new Moses, like I talked about before. So this is obviously a theological point that's a theological mechanism that's added to the Matthean narrative that never happened. Like, it never happened. Jesus never went to Egypt, because otherwise you would know about it in every gospel. One, if he came out of Egypt to fulfill a prophecy saying he's a Messiah, you'd think that's pretty important and all the gospels would have it. Two, or Paul. Two, this is just a huge part of his early life and part of who he is. Having asylum for a couple of years in Egypt is a fairly important piece of plot to his life. He was chased out of the country by the despotic king. I mean, that is that important that Herod the Great chased him away. Of course, there's no corroboration of these claims. It's complete nonsense, historically speaking. But if it happened, you would for sure see more evidence of it in the Christian writing, in the canonical Christian writing. And we don't. But I just think it's interesting that modern Christians, modern conservative Christians who are not all the time, but talking about your conservative Christians, particularly your white conservative Christians, who appear to be particularly anti-immigration and anti-movement of people, celebrate in their divine hero political asylum 2 years thereof. I mean, it's just quite an interesting irony. You know, you wonder, with all their MAGA paraphernalia and American flags flying, build the wall, build the wall. Would they have advocated a wall being built around the Egyptian border to stop desperate political asylum seekers finding safe haven in Egypt? Had they built that wall in Egypt, would Jesus have been murdered at the border by Herod? I don't know. Something to think about. Question everything, especially yourselves.